Okay everyone, it's HopelessDave here. I'm just doing basically a little recording of the stuff I've been working on recently, which is mostly building textures. I did do a voiceover for this that was live, but I had to use my headset because my better microphone didn't pick it up from the distance, so I had to use it. I don't have a stand for it, and the audio quality was really awful, so I decided to bin that. And I'm going to do this is future me talking over what past me was doing, which is probably better anyway, because rather than just ramble while I was trying to think of something to say while I was drawing, I can just explain what I'm doing as I'm watching it on the screen, which is probably much easier, and I will do that going forward. Let's see. Now, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. It's taking me a while to get going. I was probably talking complete nonsense while I was doing this. But I wish I'd hurry up. You know, actually thinking about it, I'm probably just going to time-lapse this and make it go quicker anyway, so I really should do that before I record this. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Right, I've sped up to 1.4 speed, so it shouldn't go too quick, but it'll go, hopefully the sort of the bits where I stop probably to do something or check a picture. For some reference, it shouldn't take too long for me to get back to the actual drawing, so you can see what I'm doing. What I've done here is I've started off on, there's a rock called Schist, or Schist. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it, I've never heard of it, but it's on the list, so that's what I'm doing here. I'm pretty sure I do pull up some reference pictures onto the screen at some point, so you can see what I'm doing. But it's like there's a few different versions of it I found on Google. So the first one was like a very grainy sort of look with sort of like some white and shiny sort of dark, not really crystals, but it's like, it's almost like a sandy looking rock with like light and dark bits that are a bit shiny. So what I've done is on this one, I wasn't sure if this one really worked, but I do a few different variations. But what I'm basically doing here is just trying to get that gravelly look with very small little stones, and then I'm going in with basically a multiply layer and some screen layers just to add some depth. But what I zoom out quite a lot here because working on like pixelated textures, it's much easier to sort of see the bigger picture if you zoom out. Working on pixel textures quite zoomed in is a bit awkward. But yeah, this is the software I'm using here is Krita, and it's got this tool called wraparound mode, which basically allows you to tile textures. You just click a button and it just automatically tiles the texture you're working on, and you can draw on any of it and it will update it. I normally use Clip Studio for drawing, but it doesn't have this feature. You can tile in Clip Studio, but it's very awkward because you've got to fiddle around with some things and do a lot of it manually. Whereas something like this, you just so you see me click the button there, and it just goes from the 32 by 32 to just tiled or back again, and it's absolutely brilliant for doing this. It's so much easier because you just hit that button and off you go. So hopefully it's not too hard to see. It does get a bit pixelated when I zoom in and out quickly. I think it's just because it's such a small texture. But what I should do at some point soon is go to another one. And there's going to be a few pauses in this video because I was recording it live to start. I think I paused to talk every now and then, so that's still in there. But yeah, you can see all the different designs. I do this sort of red one next, which I thought was an interesting look. So yeah, I sort of try and do a few variations of like each material that we're looking to do, and that way I can just go back to the team and say, like, I've got like this variation or that version. You know, we can sort of decide which one we like, which one do we want to use, and just keeps it a bit more interesting. I think it's the thing you want to go for, really. You want something that fits, that looks like it belongs in the game, along with everything else. But you want it to be interesting. You want to have some variation in all the different block textures. That way, it gives you a bit more customizability when you're trying to create something. You got all these different textures to play with, so you can really create something that's your own. Yeah, so here I'm trying to do the red one, which is kind of like it's got these red gems embedded in it, and I was trying to create that look. Not quite sure if this one will fit, but it was an interesting idea, so I just went with it. I ended up doing 3 of these, and then I moved on to the slate, which we'll get to after this. But what I'm basically doing here is you put in a bit of red just for the gem, and then I tend to shade from the bottom right. I'll shade it to be a darker colour to give it some depth, and then on the top left I'll add a bit of highlight, and that way it's just trying to make certain elements pop out more, give it a bit more depth so it doesn't look too flat. That's kind of the challenge. Pixel art is actually quite difficult. It's not something I'm used to. A lot of stuff I've done, 3D modelling or just art in general, it's normally working with much higher resolutions, at least a lot higher than this. Pixel textures are something I don't have before I started doing this, something I didn't have that much experience in. And it's really fun, but it's hard. It's amazing trying to fit so much visual information in such a small place. There's a real knack to it. And I haven't mastered it yet, but I'm getting there, I think. Drake Wolf's much better at this than I am, but he's done a lot of Minecraft texture packs, I think, so he'll normally take something I've made and just I'll look at it and think, oh, I'm happy with that, and then he'll take it, run off with it for like 10 minutes and come back with some godlike artwork, which I don't know how he did it. And he's just basically used what I've done and extracted a little bit more out of it. It's incredible to me. There's still learning to do. But yeah, what I'm doing here is just trying to create a background to the gems that looks like they're embedded in rock. The first one I tried, I just gave up on because it didn't look right. So this is attempt number 2, just trying to create something that fits, but doesn't take away from the visual look of the gems that I really wanted to be highlighted. So. Yeah, sort of see here, just going in, sort of adding some shading underneath each of the rocks to make it look like they're standing proud of the rest of the texture. And then I think I go in and do some more highlights to try and make the rocks underneath the gems stand out a bit more again from the background. So I'm not sure if we're going to keep this one. I'm not sure if we're going to use it, but it's an interesting texture. It was the red rock that I was looking at was a bit weird, but it looked interesting. I won't ever go at it. So that's mostly what I've been doing, just taking a few of the textures. I've done all the main ones, like the wood textures, a lot of the brick textures. A lot of the ones that are left now are just the weird little things, like obscure rock types that we've got on some of the different layers under the ground in different biomes. So at first I thought I was just going to do a few that were very similar and just change the colour of them, but I thought they don't take too long to do, so I might as well just muck around and see if I create anything interesting that we can use. We might decide that we want them to look the same and just have different sort of shades, different colours. That's kind of what Minecraft did. It keeps the visual look very uniform, and it just allows you to kind of change the colour of things. But I think it's kind of nice having a bit of visual difference as well. And so I thought, give that a go, see how it turns out. Each one only takes about 10 minutes to do, so it's not a big deal if we decide to change something up or if we don't want to use a texture. It's a bit different if we were creating a model, because then obviously that takes a bit more work and you've got to unwrap the model and do all that. But with something like this, it's because it's so quick just to put the texture down. Once you get into the flow of it, you can experiment a lot more, and you're not losing too much time if you decide you don't want to use something. So I think I'll leave this one as is. This one I do actually quite like. I don't know if we'll use it, but it's it's interesting. I think it's oh yeah, here we go. I decided to do one more, and that's the black rock with the white wavy lines through it. Let's see what I do here. Yeah, so it's the same thing. Just go back into wraparound mode, pick a starting texture, and then just build on it. Krita's got really good brushes for just kind of layering things on. I've been absolutely terrible at traditional painting. Something I've tried a few times and I'm awful at it. But there's some really good brushes in Krita that kind of emulate that feel really nicely. Clip Studio probably does have them as well, but I use a lot more sort of inking pens and things normally when I do drawing in Clip Studio. Krita is just at the basically just download it and just comes with all these crazy brushes. I've only used a few of them, and the ones I have used are really fun. It's a free software as well, so if you like the look of it, you could just go to the website and just download it for free. Got the Windows version. I think there's a Linux version. I'll have to check. But yeah, what I'm doing here is just added in the wavy lines, tried to keep it a bit interesting by thickening some of the lines up, making some bits thinner. Adds a bit of variation so it's not all the same. And I think the layers are flush with each other. So I do go in and add a little bit of highlights here and there, but not too much. One of the things I was talking about actually when I was recording it live was that one of the things that Clip Studio does have, which I really like over Krita. Krita does have this as well, but I don't think the settings is good. I think I tried using it a few times here and I was having trouble with it. Krita's got, Clip Studio has a noise modifier that you can put over, and it just gives a really nice uniform pixelated look to everything. So I don't think I've got that recorded here, but what I'll do with these textures is I'll export them as PNGs, import them into Clip Studio, and I'll just apply that like filter layer over the top, and that just gives everything a pixelated look, even more so than it already has at 32 by 32. That way you don't have to manually go in and kind of like make sure everything looks a bit pixelated with like brushes. You can just apply that over the top of it, and I just use an overlay layer, and that just evenly puts a pixelated look over the whole thing, and that's really nice. I've done that for a lot of the textures. Some of the textures I haven't needed to do it because I've kind of gone in at such a level and done so many small little tweaks. Like if drawing dirts and things, normally they look pretty pixelated already because you just do loads of small little details and everything ends up pixelated. But with things like this, there's a few spots where it's not really pixelated enough to match everything else. So I just go in there with an extra layer and add that over. You can do it in Krita, but what you've got to do is you've got to create a layer first, then you've got to fill it. I think I might be doing that here actually. Yeah, and then you have to add a noise modifier, and then you have to go in and like just clear the saturation, put the saturation right down so it removes all the colour. But it doesn't seem to create as nice an effect as when I do it in Clip Studio. So what I'll do after I've finished here is I'll just load them into that. And you're not really missing out on anything there. It's literally just, as I said, it's just a layer that goes to the top and just pixelates it. But I had a few goes here mucking around with it, but decided I didn't like just how the pixel density just wasn't quite right. I'm sure I used to have an option to change the pixel density. I think I might have just forgotten which filter to use properly. I don't normally use Krita, so I do tend to forget sometimes where everything is and which are the right options I want. And I think after this one I move on to Slate, which was another one that needs to be done. I don't think I'm going to do too much more here. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. The mouse is going all over the place. I'm clearly stuck, wondering what to do next. Probably took an opportunity to talk about something that was interesting to me at the time. Oh, I don't know what he's doing. What are you doing? Oh yeah, he's saving it. He's saving it. Okay, I think we're moving on. Well, it's a good thing I sped it up, isn't it? Oh, now I don't know what he's doing. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so doing Slate next. The first one I try and do is just a large slate block sort of texture, so like it's all of one piece. Had a bit of mucked around with this one quite a few times actually, because one of the things you can end up with when you're tiling textures is that you want to try and avoid making it look too uniform sometimes, because when you zoom out and if you used a texture on the side of a building and you just used the same texture for the whole wall, you could end up with it looking very tiled and it doesn't look like organic and natural. It looks weird. And because there wasn't too much to this texture, it was see, like if you just try and create lines and things, if you built a wall out of that, it would look really obvious. So I think there's a few times here I just delete everything and go back and try and do smaller, more little intricate effects, and it's just not as noticeable than if you were to tile it. It's fine for things like bricks, because you expect that to be uniform. You don't really notice it. Yeah, so what I do here is I go in and I just sort of add small little details, and rather than trying to run like a line of different coloured material all the way through the tile texture, I just kind of add small bits in, so it's not as obvious that it's a tile texture. You wouldn't immediately pick up on it when you looked at it. You see it a bit more there, but it's not too bad, so I think I go with that, and I just made a few changes, just added a few more bits in just to add a bit more shade. He's thinking about it. He's thinking about doing something. Yeah, see, you can tell I was talking, I was rambling again. I could speed these parts of the video up. I could, but I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna ramble over whatever I would have been rambling then. There we go. Yeah, so it's kind of like it adds a bit of depth to the texture, having a bit of light and dark, but it's not so obvious that it creates this tiled look that if you created a wall completely out of it. If you built a big wall out of this, you'd probably notice it, but if you just use the texture here and there, it wouldn't be too bad. That's kind of my attempt at flat slate. The next one I did was quite interesting. That was more of a broken down. If you use a lot of almost like slate cobblestone, like lots of small bits of broken slate, and you just built like a dry stone wall out of it or something. That one I thought turned out quite nicely. Let's see if I pull up the pictures again. Maybe not. Maybe not. I think I just go straight onto it. Probably could have sped this up a bit more thinking about it. I want it to be at least 20 minutes. I recorded about half an hour, and it was that seemed like a good time, a good amount to record, and so I'll condense it down to 20 minutes. If I wasn't talking over it in the initial recording, it probably wouldn't have kept stopping. Probably would have just got on with it. But I suppose it was good that I was talking, because at least I was thinking about stuff I could be saying and bringing in pictures and things. So it gives me something now to talk about, and I've got a rough idea of what I was saying when I was doing it. So it makes it easier for me. Well, it makes it easier for future me. I need to get a stand for this microphone, and I could just put it like next to the drawing tablet. I had it by the side, but it wasn't strong enough to pick up the my voice, other than it sounded like I was whispering. I couldn't find a way of boosting it, so I'll muck around with that. I'll see if I can get that working for the next one, because that'll make things much easier. Yeah, so what I did here was I just went in with, rather than try and create like, you know, not an organic shape, but when I was doing like other rocks and dirt, it's like they're quite rounded edges. And what I tried to do here was create more harsh, jagged edges and more triangles, because when you break slate, it's very, it becomes very jagged, very angular. It breaks off at sharp edges. So that's kind of what I was trying to capture here. This one I'll probably use this one. This one should turn out quite nicely. It looks like you could either do it as it would work as a wall, or use it as a path. What I find works quite well is, so if I shade the bottom right corner and then highlight the top left, and then I'll take a brush on like a screen layer and a sort of lower opacity on the layer or on the brush, and just add a little bit of highlight to the middle of each sort of a bit of slate or bit of rock, or whatever you're doing, and that just pops it out just a little bit more. You see, I'm just playing with some of the strengths of like the lighting, just to make it look a bit more natural. But yeah, that's the last texture I did for the video. I've got a few more left to do, but I'll just get on with them. But yeah, hopefully it's something that you guys are interested in seeing behind the scenes. It's sort of the stuff I've been working on recently, because we've just got a few left that just tick off all the boxes and have them finished, and that's all the building textures done, at least for this sort of stuff, like the organic things, like the stones and rock and wood. Yeah, any questions about it, post them down below, I'll get back to you. And yeah, I hope it was interesting to watch. I hope I didn't ramble for too much. I'm terrible at talking, so I probably just talked nonsense for 20 minutes, but hopefully it was useful for you. And yeah, thanks, and talk to you again.